Hello all. I'm Joanna Spellman and welcome to Channel 9 News. We have a special report coming from field reporter Kimberly Saberhagen. We're going to turn it over to her as she will be able to give you more information on a new learning strategy.
Thank you, Joanna. That's right, there is a new learning strategy that's gaining momentum. It's called team-based learning. We had the opportunity to talk with Dr. Eric Bernstein about what TBL is, and just how effective it can be. Here is that clip.
Traditional methods of instruction rely extensively on content experts lecturing to groups of students on a particular topic. Students in those contexts are passive receivers of the information from those content experts, oftentimes taking notes furiously to try to get down everything that is shared by the content experts, but not engaging in much of a discourse aside from the occasional question for clarification or the occasional request to repeat something that was said in the lecture. In TBL, students have the opportunity to work with their teams to respond to increasingly complex application problems while they're in the presence of faculty facilitators and content experts. This allows them to make deeper connections with the material, learn how the material applies, and also get clarification on the spot from the people who actually know what those clarifications mean. And using the
Dr. Bernstein informed us that this pedagogy uses 3 steps. First comes individual pre-work, then individual readiness assurance testing or IRAT, and finally an in-class application.
I hear, Kimberly, that in-class application, after the IRAT students perform a team readiness assurance test in their groups.
That's right, Joanna. I also had the opportunity to visit a local school to see team-based learning in action and talk with a cooperating teacher. We're now going to share that interview segment.
Wow.
So team-based learning involves several key steps. The approach I adopted involves what's called a readiness assurance process, which is kind of a multi-step way to get students to do preparation before class, to do reading, watch videos, and read reports on a topic. I can have 4 or 5 of these modules for the whole lesson. Each can contain a set of reading and videos, and students must come to class having read some of the basic material because I will give them a short quiz to check for individual understanding. My students get to work in groups to solve real-world applications. Sometimes there is more than one right answer, so it is fun trying to find different solutions. I've heard them describe my classroom atmosphere as fun and inviting.
Wow. This sounds like a principal step in the teaching pedagogy.
That is correct. After students get ready for class, Ms. Kinkle gives them a quiz to check for comprehension.
So my next question would be, when do the students start working in their teams?
Now, Joanna, we also had the opportunity to talk about the role of the student and teacher. The teacher must create a learning environment that is very structured. They must act as a guide and be able to give feedback on the spot.
Seems like it can be difficult and a lot of work for the teacher. Transforming a classroom from a traditional one to a team-based learning environment has its own set of challenges, but can have rewarding outcomes if done correctly.
That's very true, Joanna. It is the teacher's job to foster individual and group accountability even though students may not feel the need to participate in activities.
Let's talk about the roles of students now. Team-based learning is a student-centered pedagogy. Students should be prepared to have a more hands-on experience. Students are expected to come to class prepared and give feed to their peers.
Now we're going to throw it over to James O'Hara, our investigative reporter, who will discuss grouping related to team-based learning.
Thanks, Kimberly. Hello, I'm James O'Hara and I'm here to talk about the advantages and disadvantages of groups in team-based learning. Team-based learning is structured by the teacher, so the teacher needs to be responsible for creating groups that are balanced. One disadvantage to being in groups is that you might have students who do not participate. One way around this is to create jobs or roles within the group. This will ensure that all members have a part to play and contribute to the lesson. A major advantage to using groups is that students consult with their peers to find solutions to their problems. Working in groups helps students develop the skills they will need in the future to be active members of society. That's all I have for today. Back to Kimberly and Joanna.
Thank you, James. Your work with this case has been great.
Truly has been, Joanna. He even went above and beyond to answer some commonly asked questions about team-based learning. For example, someone wanted to know if teachers have to assign groups every day. Groups should be made at the beginning of a semester. The teacher should put a lot of consideration into making the groups because they will stay together for the duration of the semester. Another common question is how quickly are teachers able to grade IRAT and TRAT?
I can answer that one, Kimberly. The IRAT tests are multiple choice tests done on Scantron and can typically be graded on the same day. It should not be returned until after the TRAT, as this will ensure an authentic discussion between students. We're going to close out this segment with a clip from a professor detailing their experience with team-based learning.
Couple of things about my relationship to team-based learning. I'm not a fundamentalist, so I truly believe that every teacher has to make any teaching strategy their own. So though I may have some really specific detailed answers to questions that you ask, it's only because we've thought about this a lot. And I don't want you to take that level of detail to indicate that there's just one way you can do team-based learning right, and if you deviate from that, then you're a heretic or something like that. Not at all, not at all. Every teacher's got to make it their own. No two teachers can teach alike or even should try, because we all have different strengths, we all have different angles on life, and we should leverage those instead of trying to squash them. So that's one thing. And then the other thing is that because we're going to have experiences with pieces of team-based learning that are somewhat detailed, that can also give you the message that you have to kind of throw out everything you've been using before and start fresh with this brand new thing called team-based learning. And that's not true either. Team-based learning I think of as a motivational exoskeleton that you can hang around a lot of what you're already using. So if you have assignments that you really like, videos, other materials that you really like, that you think teachers or students get a lot from, you can certainly work those in. So those are two things that I want to say about how I think team-based learning works best.
Thank you all for tuning in, and we'll see you tomorrow.